Good evening. Off to a late start. On account of the fact that my packages arrived after my Tuesday guest showed up. So, now that I'm done streaming, time to record. Assuming I can even open this thing, because right now, packaging is being very shitty. Not like it was packaged badly, but rather it is being disagreeatory. Let's put this on the thing. Let's get the scissors out and make all of these open a little bit faster. That did not. Oof. Sorry. And for these, since that always makes them open up pretty much instantly, let's just give them cuts. Let's go through. Because one of these is anime and the other one is not. And I may have mixed them up enough that here's the one that's not. So that means this is the one that am. Get this opened up. Let's see. This one's kind of important because we've been waiting for this one for a while. Let's see. Moving that out of the way. We have... I think I actually got an advertisement for this last week. Which means that the rest of these are here. And you may think, oh, there we go, that's everything. But no, not quite. We'll add to the non-anime pile here. We do have another Nintendo Switch game. Dragon Quest Builders 2. I've not played the first one, but I figured I'd pick up the second one. You know, basically I was doing some shopping before I saw Endgame. There's How to Train Dragon Hidden World. I don't know, I think this is a third movie, but I don't know if it's after some TV series stuff or not. The Predator. The Hunt Has Evolved. Probably stupid, that's why I only got a DVD version. And then Shazam. Oh, with an interesting lentacular cover. Huh. And I'm kind of curious about this one because this one's pretty fun, it sounded like. Alright, getting on to anime. First up we have Sonic X The Complete Series, episodes 1 through, jeez, it's hard to see. This is standard definition. It's a 70-something. What I'm kind of curious about here is I knew this was coming out, and of course I was reminded because this is one where we've been waiting for Discotheque / Eastern Star, whoever, to oh fuck, I forgot this. These have stickers. They were changing warehouse distributors, something like that, and you know, going through some of the initial pains of that stuff. So the fact that this is shipping out is good. You know, I think I've said before that I really appreciate the fact that they kind of mop up on a lot of the anime releases that are easily overlooked. One of the things I'm curious about though is this English dubbed or... yeah, this is English dubbed. So this is probably still the modified 4Kids version. Maybe they're not allowed to do a subtitle only version. But Sonic X on Blu-ray. We have 2 discs. And a very involved graphic in the back there. This one would be fun to watch just because it seems very, well, I don't know, the characters kind of just look like I would expect anime versions of Sonic characters to look. They're interacting with anime characters that look like anime characters, which is weird. Anyways, Cyborg 009, the Cyborg Soldier. All 51 episodes in standard definition. Interesting. I don't even think this has gotten a complete DVD release. Unless this is not the one I think it is. But I guess one way to find out is, and this time instead of throwing the plastic away, taking the sticker off, to pack it up. Oh, we've got two different arts. That's always good. Okay, so we're gonna look down here. Audio, English and Japanese. Subtitles English. 51 episodes. Well, this is on SD on Blu-ray. It's all on one disc. Very interesting. Seems like maybe the way to watch it then. I was just noticing the little tab thing. Next up, we got Yowamushi Pedal Complete Original TV Series, which I think this is its first release on Blu-ray. Like it's been released on DVD before. But I could be mistaken. It's been a while since I ordered these ones after all. Like, I don't know, maybe that's not too long, but it is forever. And it also means that I probably pre-ordered it closer to the end of last month, so, not last month, but the month before. So yeah, it's been a month and a half, 6 weeks. Nobody can be expected to remember something after 6 weeks. I couldn't even have told you what all was going to be arriving today. Oh, I like it when the slipcover has a different art. And it looks like an interesting enough series. It's possible it's only okay, but I don't know. Okay, that's loose. That's loose. There we go. That's kind of the complete graphic. And I think last but not least of the Discotheque Eastern Star stuff is we have The Wonderful Wizard of Oz on Blu-ray. This is all 52 episodes in standard definition. So, if some of y'all have seen kind of older releases of this, like if you saw stuff from, I don't know, 70s, 80s, probably maybe not that old. Well, 80s, yes, maybe not 70s. This was released and edited down into movies, but it was originally a series, and Discotheque has released, I think, both movie and series versions of this, and here's series version on Blu-ray. Yay. That rhymes. Kinda. So if we look back here, we will see that it is Japanese with English subtitles only, because the English dub applies to the movie version. If you know. Straightforward. On one disc. But the original video quality wasn't necessarily that spectacular, so that's why it's 52 episodes in standard definition. And it's one disc, so it means that you can watch all of it. You can just take the disc, leave it in your Blu-ray player for a couple of months, and then when you're finally finished with the series, move on to the next, which is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Set 4 DVD version. So the Blu-ray version came out, well, I received the Blu-ray version last week. I think this one technically arrived the day after I did the update last week, but I've left it in the package since, because there was no way I was going to get around to having watched this. Oh, different colors. The others have been probably doing that. And that's mostly because I have to watch sets 1, 2, and 3 first. So if I'd started doing that, and for some reason I got through all of those, and I could always dive into this, but I'd probably be watching the Blu-ray versions, which of course came out last week. And there's not too much new to see with this. You know, that's just what the DVD version looks like. But the way Viz likes to do their stuff is they like to pretty much have the DVD and Blu-ray versions mirror each other a lot more closely than a lot of other companies. Next up we have Fuuka, the complete series. A name you got to be careful about because, you know, it sounds like you might be cursing. Mother Fuuka. That would probably be the main reason why I don't wear my my Hime t-shirt. I see a region A and B, English dub. So this one's very importable for people who think that's important. And no surprise that there's something else inside. And then we'll open this up. As predicted, a disc 1, a disc 2. I have absolutely no idea what this anime is about. Probably if I'd taken a closer peek at the back when I went past it, maybe I would. But, yeah, kind of curious. Let's see, I think next up we have Boruto, The Next Generation, Volume 2, DVD and Blu-ray versions. So unlike Naruto, which was DVD only, up till now, who knows, there could be a Blu-ray release on the horizon of some sort. I'm not saying there is, I'm just saying there could be. But for now, Boruto definitely gets it, and I think that's okay. I don't know if Naruto was ever released in high enough quality to be that, but anyways. I say English and Japanese audio there. I don't know if the Blu-ray version has anything different. Doesn't look like it. Special features. So pretty much these chibi stickers and English cast interviews are new on the Blu-ray. Oof, nothing new on the inside. And you know, since I haven't started watching it, I can't say that I'm looking forward to it, because Naruto kind of sat around not being relevant to its own ideas, or rather being really on and off, and then in Shippuden finally feeling like, oh okay, now it feels like there's a reason I watch this series. And the idea that it continues on to their kids' Marty, something's got to be done about their kids, it makes it feel like, you know, like I said, they like to make the DVD and Blu-ray versions so much similar. Although, different art on the inside. Oh, there's the chibi stickers. Not feeling where the sticker separates, but that could mean good quality sticker, or an okay quality sticker. I don't know. I'll just get it back in there. And then last but not least, well actually let's get the DVD version in its sleeve so that this pile is a little more stable. Last but not least, we have Asura Cryin, which is 26 episodes, 3 discs, made in Japan. I got the impression that this is older, but that's not looking older. This may be a newer version of something that I heard, or maybe I'm confusing names. Could also be multiple releases of the same franchise. Well, anyways, we're digging into it. I see your region A there, and Japanese with English subtitles there, which makes me think it's not the other one. Yeah, I got this really annoying thing where the sweat likes to travel down my hands into whatever I'm grabbing now. It's really strange. Asura Cryin. Asura Cryin. Okay, so now I just have absolutely no idea why the name of this thing sounds familiar. Maybe that means I need to watch it? I don't know. But here's this week's anime DVD collection update. Alright, I think the main thing, yeah, pretty much the only thing I watched was Golden Kamuy. I mean, yeah, I'll talk about that in a little bit. Golden Kamuy is the only anime I really watched this week, and it was good. So it definitely is really good in the beginning, and it doesn't get bad. It kind of had the feeling that it was a show with a story to tell, so it kind of felt like it would move a little faster than it did, and it establishes our main characters as actually being characters we like to watch and follow. It kind of takes a Dragon Ball Super approach of you know, throwing tantalizingly good looking food into your direction pretty much every episode or something like that. But you know, you kind of enjoy your characters, and it sort of feels like as it gets closer to the end of this first season, like you're like, it's not spending as much time with them as I would have liked. And it's not spending it with characters that are bad. It's just, I wanted to see what the protagonists were going to do, because I wanted to see where this story was going, and I kind of felt like, based on the way it began at the very beginning, that it would have something it was trying to get to, and it felt like the pacing could have been doing something like that, but it was doing world building kind of, I think, a little more than I thought, which makes sense because it doesn't strike me as a sort of thing where it wouldn't be world building, but you kind of hope that they managed to keep your attention with a well-told story. And at this point, first season definitely doesn't end any of this story. Need to see more seasons. So if there's a season 2, I hope there's a season 2, then I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I guess having an opinion on what season 2 brings. Hopefully closure. If it goes on longer, then it's one of those series that is about coming up with a good idea, but kind of telling a lot of interesting story along the way. And it's really nice to watch something and finish it and feel like you get a complete satisfactory experience. And that's what I'd be curious to see if season 2 does, and I could actually see season 2 not doing that, so we'll have to see. But on that note, I did watch Avengers Endgame, so you may recall that I did recently watch Captain Marvel, and then my friend and I were finally able to go and watch Endgame. Now, he's seen it before. This was my first time watching it. For him, part of the excuse was getting me in there, because then we can go on and probably watch Spider-Man Far From Home, which I've heard is entertaining. But I don't know if I've heard if it's actually good, and I don't know if the opinion of the people that would have said that would necessarily be one I could trust with relativity to the other Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, so that's one that I just need to watch myself. For Endgame, it's a good movie. It's definitely a good movie. It's probably not the most favorite standalone, but it is really satisfying. So it's a really satisfying follow-up to Infinity Wars. And it's kind of interesting because I think I had more little complaints and nitpicks about Infinity Wars than I do with Endgame, even though Endgame has a very different pacing to it and compared to pretty much all the other Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And I think a part of that is because it's a follow-up to Infinity Wars. Basically, some of my thoughts are that if you divide a story into acts, you know, they talk about like the 3-act structure or the 4-act structure or something like that, and I think in both of them, the penultimate act is supposed to be kind of a crucial one, the one where your characters are in theory at their lowest. And I could actually see, if you combine both Infinity War and Endgame, why some of the slowness of Endgame comes because it's supposed to represent that part, but usually a lot of the movies kind of have that in an overarching sense in some degree, but usually they have it mostly self-contained. I don't know, that's been one of the neat things about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is there's both this micro entertaining movie that's part of this macro thing that develops all of it, and you get entertained the whole way. Usually. I'm sure plenty of people don't actually enjoy them. But, you know, lots and lots and lots of people enjoy them, and especially notable people who maybe didn't grow up on the comics, so they kind of get to go in and watch them. And I didn't really grow up on the comics. I grew up more being side exposed to them. So we had some X-Men comics, maybe an X-Factor comic or two. You know, we barely had any comics, so we had some exposure to that stuff, but we had more exposure through the old 90s X-Men animated series. So, and I think through the Spider-Man animated series back then as well. So, we're not exactly comic book nerds, but we have enough exposure to that to at least appreciate where a lot of that stuff comes from, and maybe to know a little bit of here or that. I think most of our knowledge may have actually come from collecting X-Men cards or something like that. I don't think we have a complete second. Is that what it was called? I don't know. But, anyways, I guess I was just saying that, you know, we're definitely a good key target demographic that they're trying to reach out to. People who are familiar enough with the franchises to say, oh, yeah, Doctor Strange, don't know anything about him, but maybe I heard a little bit about this or that or something like that, and I'm curious. And, you know, just enough to get us in theaters. Of course, we're also completionists, so, you know, we kind of want to watch everything in whatever order and all that stuff. But Endgame was, of course, supposed to be not the end of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but a very notable... It's been leading up to this movie and the previous one, but probably more towards leading up to the end of this movie, I would say, since it began. I mean, I know early on, you know, first they kind of established that they were building the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then they're like, oh yeah, Thanos is a problem. People are like, ah, yes, they're planning to do Infinity Wars. And I think it's really kind of some variant of Infinity Wars, because they I think, learned to use ideas, and people who are fans of some of these iconic stories just don't like that stuff. And some of that stuff I can actually agree with, because they do actually make the movies a little bit more... It almost reminded me of a twist for the sake of a twist. But, you know, when you're outside of that, you know, there's a lot of this stuff where it's just like, we're actually combining 2 or 3 different villain ideas into this one villain, and it works out because, for the same reason a lot of the action works in Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, because they mix things up. Because if you have people doing the same thing to each other, then it's boring. And I think escaping this idea is best exemplified in Captain America Civil War, where I don't know if I want to talk about that too much, but they introduce a lot of possibility for potential stale mix-ups, where they're like, okay, you would never expect this character to fight that character, and they make it work surprisingly well. And they keep doing a lot of mixing and stuff in that movie, and even when they have confrontations happening between the same character multiple times, they try to make sure that each action scene is doing something different. And it's interesting because a lot of DC movies, okay, I can't say a lot of DC movies, but the DC movies that I've seen don't feel like they get away from that too well. It's really hard to, because a lot of DC matchups are pretty much that. But then again, wouldn't a lot of MCU matchups pretty much be that, and they managed to mix them up? So I don't know what they've done. They apparently have a really creative A team, maybe even B team, and obviously they have different tiers, because some of the movies are like, okay, well, there's some interesting ideas in here, but the execution and the twists don't quite make up for the other shortcomings of the movie, I guess. And I'm not going to point fingers, because, you know, that's been all over the place for many different reasons throughout the entirety of there. Not every Marvel Cinematic Universe movie has been blockbuster, but they've been like Pixar was for a long time, where their stinkers are actually still pretty watchable. I mean, I even gave maybe not glowing praise to Avengers Age of Ultron when I rewatched it, but, you know, I went, oh, actually this is pretty watchable when you learn to not care about these things that make it unenjoyable, and there's a lot of other fun things in there. So, Endgame, definitely very satisfying to watch. If you've put off watching it for whatever reason, I definitely recommend you do it, especially if you've been investing all the time and energy into the previous 20 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, because I think it's the 21st. That's a shit ton of movies. You know, that's one of those things where if you were to go back in time and somebody's like, oh, what's the biggest thing Hollywood has been up to? I mean, there's a reason why the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been notable, and that's because, you know, you'll have a movie like Avatar, which may still be higher grossing than Endgame, I don't know, but Avatar would pretty much be a one-shot thing, and then for the Marvel Cinematic Universe to build up a universe from the very first movie. I mean, I went back and, you know, rewatched some scenes from that, and, you know, it's fun stuff. It's still fun stuff. It's neat. It's probably... Jesus Christ, I was just thinking a rewatch of the entire MCU. That would probably put the Lord of the Rings director's cut watching not only to shame, but, well, maybe not to shame. Just, that will actually look a lot more doable than an MCU rewatch. An MCU rewatch, you probably plan for a very long period of time. You can't just say, okay, we're going to have one day and we're just going to do this, or we're going to have 2 days and we're just going to do that. I don't know if you can do that. Is there enough time in the days to do that? If we assume 2 hours a movie, then the answer is no. There's 40 hours a movie right there. Jeez, you'd have to take shortcuts. Maybe skip some movies and watch some of them at double speed, and then at that point, are you really watching them? Depends on the person and what you're trying to get out of it. Anyways, Endgame, one of the things I'd say that makes Endgame really satisfying is somehow it manages to make you think about the MCU in its totality. And for something they've led up to, it's incredible that they managed to do that. I'm wondering if they were planning to do something like that the whole time. But I guess I can't comment on it too much. Not without spoiling it, because it was very satisfying. And again, it's probably not the most watchable on its own movie, but if you are watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe, obviously Infinity War was one you really needed to watch, and if you watch that, you need to watch Endgame. Simple as that. Now I am curious where it goes after this, because I'm not sure if that stuff was planned, and I know some of that planned was to try to make it a little more Captain Marvel centric, and I don't know if they can make that work. Like, this is one of those unfortunate things where I can't help but think that I really don't know if it's the character, the actress, or maybe the combination that I don't like, because something about it doesn't feel genuine, I guess, for lack of better terms. And I started thinking of that because Endgame got re-released into theaters with extra content, which is basically a Stan Lee cameo and a deleted scene thing after the credits. And the Stan Lee thing, there's this one scene in there where he and Brie Larson are sitting on a bus that was from a scene in Captain Marvel, and she looked genuine there. That actually looked happy, and like, I would like to watch that. And I didn't see any of that in the character in the movie, or very rarely saw it. And part of me thinks that a lot of it comes from, I know that there was some inspiration from Captain America for the character. Like, I think the writers, or Brie Larson, was trying to identify some things from Captain America and do those as well, but I don't think they identified them right, or they didn't act them right. Because there's a part of Captain America where you kind of worry about how Captain America he's able to maintain, but usually by the end of most of his movies, you're like, if you're on the wrong side of Captain America, you're on the wrong side, period. You know, he feels more inspirational than, oh yeah, he's powerful. And there's those neat scenes which make him powerful, and actually Captain Marvel has a good number of that as well, but I don't think the Captain Marvel movies, I don't know, some people talked about how they just didn't like the fact that she never felt like she was in danger, or at risk of actually losing, I guess. And I can kind of see some of that. But I guess the real issue there is, for the parts where she's looking powerful, somehow it doesn't work as well. Now, that said, there are plenty of scenes in like the first Captain America, the first Avenger, where you're like, okay, he's a super soldier and he's doing these powerful things, and you maybe do or do not feel it, but they've had chances to make that work. And I think Winter Soldier is a really good example, because there's a scene where Captain America is running through an office and he's like bursting through walls. I'm like, that's actually really fucking awesome. Somehow you can kind of feel this character is strong, because you don't go into an office and say, okay, I'm going to crash through that door, now I'm going to crash through that wall. Captain America just does it, and you kind of feel the power of the character because of that. And it's kind of interesting, because that's been one of the complaints with the DC movies, where a character punches another character and you don't get a good feel for the relative strength of their punches. Whereas Captain America wants you to see him blocking things and then hit a guy and that guy goes flying. They want you to see he had a lot of force behind that. And a part of you may look at it and say, he probably broke his neck and his nose after that. But, you know, they don't need to go that far. If they were trying to be realistic, they would. But you don't need to feel that to feel the strength of Captain America hitting somebody, because they do a good job of letting you feel like he's hitting hard. And Endgame actually kind of almost, it teeters on the edge of whether or not that works, but in Endgame it pretty much works. And again, I can't really talk about the details of why I thought that worked, but it's just interesting to watch it, and I really need to see more DC movies to see if they do good or bad. Now Shazam, you know, is on my
very interested to watch this because I heard it's a fun movie. I haven't heard that it solves a lot of the DC problems per se, but I don't know. I somehow doubt it because the character, I wanted to call the character Shazam, but actually he has a different name, unless he's called Shazam in the movie. He's supposed to be, ridiculously strong. So I kind of expect it to take advantage of that when it does its storytelling. But we'll have to see. Anyways, that's a lot of stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything else worth mentioning. So I think in terms of games, I've remade one of my stages from Super Mario Maker 1 and Mario Maker 2. Tried to tweak it a little bit so it's got some interesting difference to it, but I don't know if it's substantial enough such that people would say, this should have just been made in Mario Maker 1. And I've not uploaded it, but basically not a lot of stuff in that realm, and I did try a tiny little bit of Super Neptunia RPG, and I didn't play enough to have a really solid opinion on what's going on. I just got enough of a feeling that I would not be able to keep track of what was going on as well as I would have wanted to. I mean, maybe I would have gotten used to the combat system, the way it works, and it doesn't necessarily seem bad, but I don't know. I guess if I were to give a complaint, the one battle they had me do, I kind of had trouble telling what I wanted to focus on. And to be fair, I've seen that with plenty of games. I think Muramasa the Demon Blade, which I played on the Wii, that one kind of had a similar problem where it's like, oh, well, okay, fine, I don't know what to focus on, so I'm just this character with a sword going around, fighting stuff, and then I picked up more and more of the HUD as we went on. But yeah, I don't know, maybe it's the way I play. Maybe it just means the game doesn't cater to my focuses. But it wasn't bad. It was interestingly a little bit meta, but I didn't play it to see if the storytelling would be such that, despite that, it was really good. Now, I guess I did spend a good amount of time getting my Super Nintendo ready to be moved. This is not something I really talk about too much on here because usually most people don't care. Like I have this bag here that has my Super Nintendo in it. But I'm a part of the gaming committee at work, which just means that when we have major gaming events, I try to be pretty much a supportive person. And one of the things I can do to really support stuff is, bring hardware. So that's why my Switch is in a very good travel mode, and I've got a portable TV, and my SNES Classic and NES Mini are travel mode. So I was trying to get the original SNES in that setup because even though the SNES Classic has some of the games, I think it only has the ability to do 2 players because I don't know if it emulates the multi-tap in any way. And I was just going to multi-tap Super Bomberman 1 and 2. It's actually really disappointing because I was looking, it sounds like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the SNES is not a multi-tap game. It seems like one of the best games to have had that. It's one of the most missed opportunities, I guess. But I digress. Anyways, I spent time playing around with my hardware and trying to make sure what worked and trying to come up with a traveling plan for that one because the Switch just evolved over time. But this one I wanted to try and go in one go. And as you can see, it's a little American flag cooler because not only was that the right size, but it's like, oh yeah, and the color is different enough that I'd definitely be able to tell the distance. That's where I keep the SNES, because if I just had a bunch of black bags with all my travel stuff, then I wouldn't be able to, at a distance, pick the stuff out that I wanted to bring with me. So, that's just an interesting thing. If you're wondering how much time it takes at work, it's usually barely any time. Maybe a little bit of time, maybe like a meeting or 2 a month, and we get together and do some sort of games thing once or twice a month. It was an excuse for wearing my Mario costume a lot in June and July. This is July. In June. Maybe I haven't worn it in July yet. But, yeah, I don't know. That's blabby stuff. In fact, I think I've been blabbing enough. I should probably wrap up this video. I'm not sure what's next on my watch list. Obviously, I'm just constantly falling behind stuff. Even the stuff that I watch with my friend. I still haven't seen the first part of My Hero Academia Season 3. And I have it right here. And probably because I want to watch the Two Heroes movie first. And I keep not giving myself enough time to sit down and watch a movie. I could probably just do that in there. But I digress. Y'all, have a nice week.